All right, there you go. All right, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean Oso McCool. And Jonathan, it is the week before Christmas. I guess this is probably our last podcast of the year.
Yes,
So
it is.
We're going to have a little fun today. We don't have any guests, so we're going to do a flight, like a reindeer flight, I guess, this week. Flight of Persuasion.
I like it.
Going to talk about all kinds of stuff. We've got some stuff on Steve Jobs. We'll talk a little bit of Apple. We'll talk Rudolph, Santa. I've got a prediction that we've been making on a podcast that is coming true.
Okay. All right.
Talk about that. And then some
on
movie trends.
What podcast?
Several of the ones. It's kind of a theme that we've been saying is coming for a while. And I've got statistical proof that it has come true. So we'll talk about that very briefly. And then interesting movie trend that we'll talk about as well.
Oh,
so lots of stuff on the show today. I'm wearing my 6-foot-long Santa hat. If you want to go over to the YouTubes and check that out. It's pure polyester, so my head is already sweating, so it'll probably come off sometime during the show.
I can see the steam starting to creep up around their head.
Reminds me of the military, like when you used to wear your beanies and you go run in the winter in formation, and there's just steam coming off everybody's head.
Just coming off everybody's head.
And if it was Monday morning, you could smell the steam coming off people's head.
Remember the John Madden, like he used to do, circle the steam coming off the players' heads during the Thanksgiving game or something. You gotta look at that. Look at that right there.
Those guys are working hard. That's what hard work looks like. Boom,
boom, boom. Oh man.
Yeah.
Did you I know Thanksgiving's passed, but did you check the tribute they had, during the Thanksgiving games to John Madden, the turducken?
Yeah. The turducken will not die.
No, never.
So pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's kind of the teaser. So what are you drinking to celebrate this last episode of 2024?
Well, I had to bring it in the right way because I had some beers in the fridge from some leftovers from Trader Joe's from last week, but they just didn't quite fit the occasion, this week before. So I had to have something something dark, something chocolatey.
Oh, okay.
So I found this, and I cannot remember. I don't know that we've had a bourbon barrel cocoa porter, Sean.
Oh,
have we had a bourbon barrel cocoa porter?
I don't think so. We've had some chocolate stouts. We've had some stuff, but cocoa porter from Kentucky bourbon. Yeah.
Doesn't that just sound amazing?
It does.
A bourbon barrel cocoa porter. It is a brewed with cocoa nibs, 100% barrel aged to build out a rich, full body porter with notes of bittersweet chocolate, roasted malts, oak, vanilla, and rounded with a sweet toffee finish. Got a little toffee finish there. So 8%.
I saw this weekend, I don't know, one of the newsletters I read, cocoa prices are up like 1,000% this year.
Oh.
So
enjoy that. Is because why?
Droughts.
Because everything else.
Droughts in Africa where the most of the cocoa is
cocoa.
grown.
Okay.
So
I thought it came out of South America, not Africa. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's Western Africa's. I think that's what I read.
Yeah. Oh,
hopefully we don't get fact checked on that and our whole podcast gets taken down. Oh, well.
We'll be pulled. No, I'm excited. That's my beverage. What do you got?
All right. So I have got on my end, you said a word last week, and then you just got into the atmosphere.
Okay.
You said eggnog last week on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, that does sound good. And I mentioned it to Tamara, and then last time she went to the grocery store, she came home with eggnog. So I'm having eggnog with Old Number 7 in it.
Old Number 7. I love
Jack
it.
Daniels,
the perfect
2 little airplane bottles of Jack Daniels.
The perfect amount, the perfect combination, and that's the perfect ratio.
Yeah, I mean that's like a little mason jar.
Two little bottles in your mason jar of eggnog.
Yeah, so that
great
is my
combination.
Christmas treat to myself here today. So for this episode, so cheers.
So is this right after? I gotta ask, is this after? Because I know you're still doing the fast, right? Are you still fasting? Oh, you're
no, I
okay.
haven't been fasting for a long time.
Okay, I didn't know if you were doing the
The last one I didn't last very long, no. So who knows? I'm waiting for another. You won't know the next time I'm doing it. I'm not telling anybody. It seems like every time I talk about it, it's harder and it doesn't last as long.
It's too much pressure.
Yeah. So next time I do it, you won't even know.
Nobody
will know. Only Tamara will know because she lives with me. But that's
all right.
Let's cheers it up.
Cheers. Sean, it's hard to zoom in on this, but I am drinking this. Forgot my beer mug, my beer glass. This is this is a back-to-back champions Georgia Bulldog bourbon glass.
I like it.
Hopefully it'll be there'll be three. Well, it wouldn't be a three-peat.
It'll be a three-peat, but yeah. See, you had to get that one because now three-peat's going to be hard again. It's like,
oh man,
I don't know if we'll ever have a three-peat in college football again.
No, not anymore. Not with the new rules. Be very difficult.
Very difficult. So, all right, where do you want to jump into these? Oh, we got to rate our stuff. So, how is your cocoa pebbles stout bourbon thing?
Man, oh man, this is amazing.
I sense it.
It's only appropriate. I mean, this is really good. So it's only appropriate. Give myself a gift. I'm going to give this one a 5-pint rating.
Ooh, wow.
For the last beverage that I'm having on the show in 2024. Awesome. It's fitting. It's amazing.
Very nice. Now
it's good.
I got to go to Total Wine this weekend.
All right. You would like it.
I'm going to give mine a 4.95. Like it's right there. It's really good. But since it's a beer show, I feel a little bad if I gave it a 5. So I'm going to give it a 4.95.
There you go.
On my eggnog. So
yeah. What kind of eggnog? Because that's always
Southern
important.
Comfort.
Oh, okay.
With no alcohol. They just branded.
I didn't realize they made non-alcoholic.
I'm sure it's a co-brand of some kind,
Sure. Yeah.
They just slap their label on it. But
of course we always get the Weigels here.
Yeah, that's so good. We don't have
the Weigels to me, they just have the best eggnog around. But
they did. If you can find anything because they have their own dairy.
Yeah.
Yep. And we don't really have a chain here, I don't think, that has its own dairy. So yeah, that would be good. The Weigels chocolate milk, the Weigels eggnog, all that stuff.
So good. So good.
So, all right. Well, man, where do you want to jump in? We got all these different things to choose from.
Well, I want to hear about Santa because you've got we'll start there. You've got an interesting story about Santa because, and I think we've talked about it in past podcasts. Santa's kind of an invention from Madison Avenue, I believe. Well, or maybe I'm wrong on that.
Maybe. So this was a new one that I had not heard yet. And it strays a little bit from like persuasion and influence and marketing, but it is just fascinating.
Okay.
The traditional story is that our current Santa came from Coca-Cola. It's red and white.
Right.
That's why he looks the way he does. Jolly, all that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that the copywriter for whoever, maybe did that campaign or the ad agency, maybe they knew something a little further back in time that gave them some ideas. So I ran across this today about a Santa Claus. Well, he wasn't really called Santa, but let me just tell you, there's a group of people up in Siberia, and they're a tribe of people called the Evinki.
Okay.
And one of so we're already up north, right? I mean, Siberia is pretty far north.
Right.
They have domesticated reindeer.
Okay.
They use reindeer for transportation. And they use reindeer to live off of milk, food, everything else. Antlers for tools, all kinds of stuff. So reindeer are very important to their culture. The other thing they really enjoy are these things. The psychedelic Amanita mushroom,
Nice.
which is the Alice in Wonderland mushroom, or the mushroom that's red with the white dots.
Right.
Again, red and white.
Mm-hmm.
So check this out. Every winter, the mushrooms would grow up under the evergreen trees. They would dig them out, and they're toxic if they don't dry first. So what they would do is they would pick them, and then they would lay them on the branches of the evergreen trees. So you've got a green tree with red and white mushroom caps on the tree. Starting to sound familiar at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what would happen is, after they were, done digging and harvesting, the shaman, and apparently this is where the name shaman came from. It didn't come from South Africa or South America or anything like that. It actually came from this Siberian tribe.
Okay.
So the shaman, which sounds a little like Santa, not exactly, but
yeah,
he would go around with his bag and he would collect all the mushrooms. And then he would deliver them to every house in the village, where they would then take them, and because they weren't quite finished drying, they would put them in stockings and hang them by the fire. I mean, it's crazy. Like, where these ideas come from. And then to take it further, because this is a psychedelic mushroom, the shaman and sometimes the leaders in each household, when the idea of flying reindeer, this is also the Amanita mushroom.
Now,
okay.
Now it's all coming together,
right? So the Amanita mushroom is also called, I think it's called fly agaricus or something like that. Because if you eat it, it makes you feel like you're flying. So because the reindeer were such an important part of the culture, and a lot of times shaman will have a spirit animal to go with them into the spirit world, they chose reindeer. So when they go into their little psychedelic trance, they would go out through the top of their teepee, which looked like a chimney, and then they would fly with the reindeer, go to the astral plane, and then come back down to the chimney bringing spiritual gifts for the family.
That is too crazy.
Isn't that wild?
How far does this go back?
This goes back pretty good. Here, I'll show you the page. I'll send you the article so you can really, here, I'll put it in the comments too, for anybody that's like, no way.
We've got proof, people. Okay. Can fact check us all you want.
I think there's probably,
completely makes sense though. Flying reindeer,
Yeah, flying reindeer.
Came up with that.
It doesn't really talk about how far back they go, but there was another. So yeah, we got magical reindeer. There's also a tree in the story, an evergreen tree in the story.
Yeah,
that they would bring into the house. It's called the World Tree, and it's basically like a portal for psychedelic journeys. Gotcha. So that's how they could get to every house in the world. That was another way to do it, was through the World Tree, which was inside the teepee type thing.
Wow.
Too. So yeah, it's quite the interesting thing. I don't know how far back it goes, but it goes back pretty good ways.
So these mushrooms, the reason they were hanging in the stockings by the fire was to dry them out.
They had to dry them out because they're toxic.
Because they're toxin if they're not completely dry first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And what's interesting, there's even another part of the story that's a little gross, but interesting, and probably how they decided to start eating the mushrooms. Apparently the reindeer would dig these things up, and they would eat them, and then they would pee, and then they would lick the snow that they had just peed on. And that's how they, so the reindeer would actually filter the toxins.
Right.
So story goes, the shaman, because they watch nature and they watch that kind of thing, they would watch the reindeers. They see this reindeer eat this mushroom, and they see him pee, then they see him eat the yellow snow, and then they see the reindeer acting weird, and they're like, huh, that looks cool. I'm going to try that. So
why not?
Why not? Right.
Wow.
So if you're looking for a cool story to tell the kids, this when you
Yeah.
visit the family, bring the nephews, the nieces along, and say, "Hey, let me tell you the real story of Santa." And
Maybe
then
you don't
pass
want to
out.
mention. Depends on how old they are if you want to use this story, but
No, I'd just tell it to all of them. Can't be any worse. We watched Red One last night.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me
It's
about
already out
that.
on Prime for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I had no interest in seeing it at the theater,
it,
but
it actually wasn't that bad. It was it was a Christmas movie. It wasn't like some blockbuster type thing. It was just a good
yeah.
Christmas movie. But
Hmm.
they brought in a lot of mythical creatures and stuff too. So it was kind of
Yeah.
cool. They have the bad Santa, which is Krampus
Yeah.
from Nordic culture and all
The
that kind of stuff.
abominable snowmen will look pretty fierce.
Yes, so it was a good entertainment movie. Like there was nothing wrong with it. It'll probably play for the next 50 years on TV
Oh, sure.
every Christmas. Like
These
if you're an
guys,
actor, like it's a great royalty
yeah.
stream.
Yes. I think that's what it is because I mean, you look at some of the movies that really didn't have huge box office blowouts, they're Christmas movies, but they've milked the Christmas season.
Yeah.
Some of these going back to, I mean, Jingle All the Way, when it came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it was kind of a cheesy movie. I don't think it got a whole lot of, I don't think it was a box office hit.
No.
But it's one of those underrated movies that kind of, it pops up on Netflix or Hulu or whatever you're watching every year. So it's kind of one of those things that you just, all right, check it out.
Even like A Christmas Story. I mean, that's,
yeah,
it's not a great,
yeah.
I mean, some people think it's the greatest movie ever. Some people are like, it's kind of boring and, it's slow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of,
it's a classic.
Yeah. It's kind of like an Opie, Andy.
Yeah.
Opie and Andy type Christmas movie,
Yeah.
It's kind of traditional or old fashioned a little bit, but some of those are actually pretty good,
Yeah.
So
that's the Santa, shamanic Santa from Siberia. So
wow.
Again, gather the nephews and nieces around, tell them the story. It's a good story.
Tell them the story. Okay.
Yeah. So
should you have some some samples on hand of these?
I mean,
of these mushrooms. I
might,
chocolate coated.
Yeah, that's personal preference. I can't recommend that by any means. Those are illegal substances. We do not recommend or even know where to get them.
That's right. That's right.
Don't know anything about them.
No.
All right. What's
good
next?
stuff. Interesting story. So is that the part of the reindeer too? Is that the tie-in with the reindeer as well?
The Rudolph story. Now, a lot of people know this one, especially in the copywriting world. This is kind of a famous story.
Yeah.
But Rudolph, because everybody thinks like, oh, these are such wholesome stories and all this stuff. Most of the time, some marketing team somewhere in the past created the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true for Rudolph. Rudolph was just a story to give away, to save money.
Yeah.
So Montgomery Ward, for our younger listeners, that was like a Sears. Oops. For our younger listeners, that was like
Sears.
Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Younger kids don't even know what Sears is anymore.
They don't know anything about the Sears robot catalog. Yeah.
No. Although Amazon has sent out a couple small ones the last couple of years that they're not even close to the.
No.
I was going to say phone book, but then again, they're like none of these comparisons mean anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, Montgomery Ward was a department store, and in 1939, apparently, back then they liked to give little coloring books away to the kids. Well, they didn't want to spend money buying a coloring book, so they had one of their copywriters make up a story, and they just printed their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that copywriter was Robert May, and he wrote the story of Rudolph. And it was basically based on him being teased as a kid for being small and shy.
Okay.
And he also took some liberties from The Ugly Duckling. So they created this little coloring book to give away to kids so moms would come shop at the store. And that's the real story of Rudolph.
Okay.
Like, that's it. And it did, I think, 5 or 6 years later get turned into the song, which really blew it up.
Yeah. How did the song originate?
I think it was a cousin or something like that, who was in the songwriting business.
Okay.
And he turned it into a song, and then Gene Autry recorded it.
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
yeah,
you
just went crazy from there.
get those vocals from Gene Autry singing, man.
And then I think after that, Bing Crosby recorded it, which I think is the version most of us hear now. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just another, marketing scam to get little kids in the store. All it was.
Wow.
Marketers ruin everything.
They ruin everything. But it is a great story. And it uses that one element too, the ugly duckling, it's the underdog element in all of these little stories that we all gravitate to, right?
Yep.
I mean, we all love, the little ugly duckling, or the reindeer that had a red nose that was shunned and ultimately became the hero.
Yeah.
So we love those stories. I mean, Rocky Balboa, all of those stories. I mean, it attracts us. We love the underdog.
Are you trying to start trying to start like a conspiracy or a feud saying Rocky's a Christmas movie?
I'm sure that if we dig deep enough, Sean, we could make it.
I mean, the opening scene in the original Rocky was during wintertime. So
it was. That's right. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when let's see, Rocky 5, I remember watching that when it came out in December during Christmas. That was not a very good one. That was the one after the fight with Drago.
But the original Rocky too, I think he gave Adrian a gift for Christmas. So it is Christmas time. I'm pretty sure during Rocky, the first Rocky. So
yeah.
We'll call that a Christmas movie now. All right.
Everything else is a Christmas movie.
All right. So I want to take a little break
from
my next 3, and we'll talk about what you brought to the table.
Okay.
While I sip my eggnog.
All right. Enjoy your eggnog. I'm going to share some insights from Steve Jobs. So this
did you interview him this week?
I did. I did. He did make it on the show. The ghost of Steve Jobs joined me this past week. There's a book out called Make Something Wonderful. It's called Steve Jobs in His Own Words. It's a little hardcover book I picked up about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's nothing. No one wrote this. It's just a compilation of all of his notes. His journaling. Interesting enough, I found out in reading this, Sean, the way he journaled, he used to email himself, right? I mean, so he would just email himself, these journal entries. And, I guess he would just save it in a folder or whatever. But so they archived all of these things, these writings, these emails. A lot of this was correspondence with some of his engineers, his top engineers at Apple and Pixar. And, it was really good. I mean, really interesting. So the book, here's a lesson before I get into some of what's in the book. So this book was like $300, right? I mean, so this is one that Ben Settle had recommended. So if you ever believe as a marketer that you can never charge beyond a certain amount for a book, I would say that that's not accurate, because if it's something that you really want or you're really interested, that somebody hypes up, and I read something from Ben Settle. He had at the end of the year, he puts out some of his favorite books that he's read. And what attracted me to this is, like, he bought it as a recommendation from Dan Kennedy himself, who literally is still alive as we speak, despite everything, and is still reading and recommending books out there. So yeah, I picked this up, a little hefty on the price, but it's really interesting to be able just to kind of dig into some of the notes and some of the correspondence he had with some of the people on his team, some of his own just stuff that he journaled. But there's a couple of things that I want to mention, and it's nothing completely just earth shattering in this book, but I'm going to share with you at the very beginning. There's a little paragraph that he says, and I thought this is important because this is a good lesson in anything as a marketer. It starts with what we in marketing, what's the old saying by Ogilvy is like, good marketing makes a bad product fail faster. So it starts with the product itself. And he says, here's an opening in the introduction, is by Steve Jobs, and this is back in 2007. And he goes, there's a lot of ways to be as a person, and some people express their deep appreciation in different ways. But one of the ways that I believe people express their appreciation to the rest of humanity is to make something wonderful and put it out there, right? Mm. And that was his. I mean, you can see this. This is pretty much resonant in everything that you read throughout this. This was at the heart of everything that he believed. Is like, you have to make something incredibly good. Yeah. That's how you show your appreciation for humanity. You create something wonderful, and that was even with Pixar. You read some of the correspondence with Pixar. He was in it to create something amazing, truly amazing. So I want to jump ahead, and here's a section in the book where he talks about there's something that he wrote, and it was an email to himself. There's quite a few of these in the book. But he said, this is Apple's reason for being. This sums it up right here.
Okay.
He says, Apple is the world's premier company at building high technology products that are easy to learn and used by mere mortals. I love that, the way he phrases that, by mere mortals. Because what is technology? What is,
especially when they were really making the first Apple products.
Yes. Yeah.
Where technology would have been very intimidating.
Yeah. Just confusing.
Just for geeks. Just for
right. You have to know how to code. You have
creatives or something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So he knew exactly what his mission was, is to create amazing products that are easy to use for the everyday person.
Yep.
He said, beginning over 20 years ago, Apple has consistently set the standard for easy to use computer systems and software. Why do we do this? Because we are in love with the potential for personal computers to enhance and enrich the lives of regular people, and not just with spreadsheets and data sheets, but with creative. He said, we are a creatively driven company, and everything that we do, from breakthrough product features and operating systems to culturally leading product design and advertising. Heck, we invented the personal computer, spawned desktop publishing, and are now bringing desktop movies to millions. And our engineers are hard at work on several more exciting breakthroughs that you'll see in 2001. So this was written at the early turn of the century. And he says, Apple marries state-of-the-art technology with Apple's legendary case of use to create products that enable users to do more. He says, this is what I love the best. It says, Apple is the world's premier bridge builder between mere mortals and the exploding world of high technology. Apple enables mere mortals around the world to grasp by making it easy to learn and use. So that was his mission in Apple to begin with, was we're going to make beautiful technology that's easy to use. That was it.
And what's interesting is their products have not always been the most advanced or the first to use the technology, but they always had the best packaging.
Yeah.
And the most kind of thought and care around the product itself.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek talks about how like Microsoft's Zune player was much better product.
Yeah.
Than the iPod.
Mm-hmm.
The iPod was more intuitive, easier, even though it had less features and everything else. It was just a better looking, easier to use.
Simple. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. Same
like one button on the front. Remember the first iPod? One button on the front with the little wheel,
Yeah, the little scroll. The thing was awesome.
It's like, and like to your point, you said, the Zoom players, like you got all these features, but but you got a million buttons on there, and you're like, okay, what does what? You know, whereas it's such a simple, elegant design. I remember my first, I don't know about your first iPod. My first iPod was a shuffle. Like, I don't know if you remember the little white stick. It was super simple design. A little white stick. It looked like the size of almost a kind of an extended USB drive or something like that.
Yeah, I remember the little square ones that were like 1 inch square.
Yeah. Yep.
That people were like clipping on their shirt.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because you could literally pop the cap off and like stick it in your, stick it in the drive and, load your songs on there. So it was so simple to use. All you had to do is just plug it in, load your songs on there, and then you just scrolled through. And this didn't even have a screen on it. I mean, these were the shuffles. They didn't have a screen. You just but you knew enough. You just clicked ahead and you could listen to the next thing on there.
Yeah.
And
crazy. I mean, what was that? Probably
12 that was 2003 when I got my first.
Okay.
It was 2003, 2004 when I got my.
For a good 5 or 6 years, that was the item on every kid's list.
Hands down. Yeah.
Like always getting iPods. Like now it's iPhones.
Yeah.
But back then, every kid wanted, between 8 and 20 wanted an iPod.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder what would be under trees this year if Steve Jobs were still alive. Like,
that's a good question. Yeah.
Like, what would the technology look like? Because
they've
definitely lost their creative edge.
The innovation has died.
Yeah. So it'd be wild to see what would be out there, but
I think it would be. I think he would take the next step towards. I think he would be taking the next step towards vehicles, right? Which they've bowed out of.
Yeah.
Apple
I think
decided to.
Yeah, I think we'd be just so. I don't know. I mean, the glasses would have already come and gone.
Yeah.
Meta's got those glasses now that actually are what everybody's been trying to make.
I think he would be. I would think, given the success with Tesla, and I know the EV market has stalled a bit, but he would be looking at. I think he would be looking, and this is just a guess on my part, but he would be looking at, what Tesla's done with Elon Musk and saying, how can we do this even better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with Apple technology.
Yeah. Yeah, because that would be definitely, the ecosystem would definitely be strong.
Absolutely. You're finding a way
or he'd be deeper into fitness. I could see that as well.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He probably would have bought Peloton 3 years ago and turned it around or something.
Probably so. But, yeah. But it's fascinating. Again, the book is got a lot of his correspondence, his own personal notes, but also some of the speeches that he made, some of his famous speeches, like the first one where he introduced the iPhone, the iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Yeah. The first one, verbatim for the introducing the iPhone. Some of the speeches that he made to, I think, the graduating class at Stanford. I
have a book like that from David Ogilvy.
Yeah.
Called David Ogilvy in his own words or something like that. So yeah, those are good books because they're very, very insightful. So
yeah. And I love it because it's got a lot of the pictures like from his early beginnings and some of his early technology that the first computer.
The Lisa. Yes. Back before they had just generic names, but that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a great
there's
story.
Still copies left on Amazon if you want them. Grab them.
Yeah, these are good. I wonder that these are great gifts to me. If you're reaching out to, and the reason that's one of the reasons I ordered this is because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this is a great gift to send a CEO of a company that I'm trying to reach out to and connect with. And yes, it's $300, but if I'm looking at a deal that's worth $2 to $3 million. I mean,
that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call rationalization. For an emotion, that's a logical reason for an emotional purchase.
That's right.
So
that is easy.
yes.
So I'm definitely gifting these out to my high end, either my high end clients, customers, or the people that I want to be in touch with and have meetings with this coming year.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's jump back to some of the other flight stuff. So speaking of Apple, we'll just pick up there as a segue.
Yeah.
So you remember last year, Jonathan, or maybe it was earlier this year. I don't remember exactly, but the Apple Crush commercial that got all kinds of heat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Got a lot of negative, and then a lot of attention. A lot of it negative, though, right?
Yeah, most of it negative. For those that don't remember, it's now called the Crush ad, and it's for an iPad, and they crushed all these,
that was last year's Super Bowl, right? Was that last year? Yeah.
So they're crushing like artistic stuff, instruments, just all the stuff that basically fits an iPad. I actually liked the ad. I thought it was cool.
I did too.
A lot of people gave a lot of backlash on it. So their next ad that's out this year for Christmas took a much more sentiment. I don't know if they got a new marketing agency or just they have multiple and this one, but there's one going out right now that has just been getting a lot of like very positive attention.
Yeah.
So Jaguar, there's hope for you too. But so what it is it's like Christmas morning. The dad's sitting on the sofa. The daughter's about to open up a gift. She's opening up a guitar, and he's having these flashbacks of her throughout her life, but everything's like muffled. The audio is muffled. Mm-hmm. You start to pick up that the dad has some type of hearing disability.
Yes. Right.
Have you seen that one?
Yes. I love that.
So and there's a short version and long version. The long version obviously is more impactful because you see all the things throughout the years.
Yeah.
And then his wife comes over, kind of taps him on the shoulder and is like, put your AirPods in. And then he puts his AirPod in and the sound becomes crystal clear. And you see a picture of his iPhone and he turns up the hearing aid portion on the AirPods. Yeah. And then he can hear his daughter singing with her new guitar.
It's amazing.
And it's just like, it's like,
that's
tug the heartstrings.
Absolutely. I love it.
So you can go from ad failure to, ad success and heartstrings and all that kind of stuff. Pretty quickly if you just keep moving. Mm-hmm. So, and if you take feedback. So I thought that's one of the better ads I've seen this year. Just kind of an old fashioned, almost like a Coca-Cola feeling ad, just good old fashioned feel good type stuff. We need more of those in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause that thing's been playing for the last it seems like the last month or so at least.
Yeah. And, probably about a month or so.
It's really good. I think it started around Thanksgiving, but it was, I noticed that, and it's a great commercial because it really does tug the heartstrings. Yep. And those are very effective.
Yep.
Nostalgia, nice. Heartwarming around this time of the year. Nostalgia, all of that stuff plays really well.
What's interesting about that is because you could easily think, well, that's a very niche ad. I mean, how many people have hearing problems that would want AirPods that you're going to do this big national campaign?
Right.
But you just associate such good feeling, solution oriented feelings with that ad. It's like, oh, I want to be a part of that company. And which is, I think, what Apple's always done best is that you want to be part of what they're up to.
Right.
So when you see that, you're like, oh, wow, that's a cool product because it actually helps people. Right.
Yeah.
When actually it's just a, $300 pair of, overpriced headphones, but does it feel like that way when it changes somebody's life?
I can tell you, after reading this book, Steve Jobs would have loved that commercial. I think he would have loved that commercial. Yeah. But I'm not so sure he would have liked the smashing commercial. Yeah. The Crush. Even though we liked it, I'm not sure that he would have liked it because
I think he probably would have done something different where he would have like had all those things like displayed and then like maybe they get swirled up and by a magic genie and they get put into the iPad.
Right. Yep.
Kind of like the 1,000 songs in your pocket idea.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like a 1,000 artistic
But not destroyed.
tools.
You would have
Right.
hated like crushing them and just,
Yeah.
destroying them. Yeah.
Especially if there was like a calligraphy pen and bottle on that set.
Right.
That would have upset him. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
All right, 2 more quick ones and then we'll wrap.
Yeah.
So we have been saying for a while on this podcast, because we are prognosticators of the future,
Of course. Yes.
that we would see a rise in experience type marketing and experience type events. Like people are going to want more experiences, not just products and not just services, but they want more experience.
Yep.
And we're starting to see this. We've come out of the pandemic. It's been a few years. The market's been good overall, other than groceries and things like that. But I read today that there is a definite rise of premium experiences. Okay. So, for instance, 85% of Delta's new seats on their planes are going to be in the premium seating. They're actually expanding premium seating a good 30% more than they are traditional seating, because more people are wanting that premium first class.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that includes business class, but that first class experience.
Yeah.
So that's one area where people are splurging. Like they want to be comfortable. And I know we did this when we went to Hawaii. We were like, let's start the vacation like when we get on the plane. Like
you know, why would you suffer through
a 9-hour flight? Like let me
an hour flight to your
part.
destination. Yeah.
And the first time, so we went to Hawaii twice. The first time we went, we just went in coach and we sucked it up. We might have been in business class. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we were so tired when we got there. We were, jet lag and all that kind of stuff. So the second time we went, a couple of years later, we did first class from Atlanta to Hawaii nonstop, lay flat beds. And man, when we got there, because we'd already taken a nap, you could stretch out. Like we were hitting the ground. We were ready to go. We weren't tired.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So people are paying for that kind of experience.
Yeah.
Also, VIP ticket sales at concerts are up, as are VIP tickets at theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
So people are paying more to upgrade the experience. One, they're going back to experiences more. They're traveling more, going to concerts more, all that kind of stuff. But even above that, they're upgrading those experiences.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a premium experience for your clients in your business, there's a section of your customer base that will pay for that.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out what it is, and not just a higher price point and like you get more widgets and stuff.
Right.
It needs to be more of an experience.
You get more attention. Like sometimes that's just more attention.
Right.
To the client. Right. I mean, they want one-on-one contact.
Or VIP days, if you're in a service business when, they get a whole day with you for consulting or whatever.
Yeah.
People, that's a great one-time offer for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So try working those experiences, those premium experiences.
Yeah. Rachel and I we were at a restaurant a couple of weeks ago up in, it's a beautiful area. It was a business trip up to Pittsburgh. But Rachel came up with me, and so up at the top, there's a restaurant at the top of a mountain that overlooks the city of Pittsburgh. Incredible experience. I mean, just breathtaking view of the skylight, the city. The city view at night. It's gorgeous while you're dining. And I was just thinking about that, during that time. It's like the food was amazing, but what I came away from more than anything was just the overall experience, the way the staff, they treated you like the most important person in the world. And then you're surrounded by the experience of being able to look out over the cityscape, at night. It's gorgeous. The food was amazing, but you go to a lot of places where the food's amazing, right?
Right.
So it's the things that we remember the most are not the food, but the surrounding atmosphere, like what we experienced during that time. And the thing that I took away from it was just the the way we were treated or wined and dined, and also just the amazing view and the amazing just the atmosphere, being up close to the window seats where you're seeing, the whole city, out, looking out over the city at night. It was like completely incredible. So
it's like a king looking down on the peasants.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
pretty
nice.
Much.
Yeah.
So
like our last guest who's up there in Chilhowie looking down on
looking down on me.
Yes, exactly. So,
yeah.
All right. So I'll go into the last one real quick. Just kind of interesting how kind of the psyche of the nation changes, from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene Schwartz once said, Eugene Schwartz wrote Breakthrough Advertising, great copywriters in the 60s and 70s, into the 80s as well. And he was speaking at Phillips Publishing one time, and he said, you should go see every movie that is like number one at the box office. Like, you need to be going watching that as a copywriter,
right?
Because it tells you something about kind of the mindset and of the American consumer at that time, right?
Sure.
So one thing I've noticed in movie trends is that possibly for the first time ever, PG movies are going to be the most popular movies in theaters. G movies have just about gone away. They almost don't exist anymore. So what used to be G is kind of now PG.
Now PG, right?
Because a lot of the animations and stuff like that. But yeah, PG movies have saved the box office this year. So your Inside Outs, the Moanas, all those movies,
right?
They've literally saved the box office this year. So you got to kind of look at that and kind of figure out like what's going on in the American psyche. It's like, we're willing to go to a movie and spend money on this type of movie, but not this. And it's basically, those are the movies I can take my kids to. So again, it kind of goes back to the experience thing, right? It's a whole family outing.
Yeah.
That I can take everybody and still feel, not have to worry about what's on the screen, or is that too far, and all that kind of stuff. So the question then to ask yourself, if you're listening, is like, okay, if that's true, how might that affect the people in my market, in my niche? Are they more family focused? And if you start looking, you start seeing this in other places. Homeschooling's up, homesteading is up. There's a lot of family based activities that are coming back after years of being gone. Right. So I think, is there a way for you to tap into that, is the question to be looking at.
Yeah. To tag on to that, did you see the trailer for I guess it's the Superman movie coming out next year?
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, the people in the comments were mean. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was
a decent trailer. Everybody was like, if it's not Henry Cavill, I'm not watching it. Or like, blah, 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 blah. Or like, really, we need another Superman movie? It's like, relax, people. It's a movie. It's entertainment.
Well, to follow up with what you said, I think my comments would be that I think that the director, James Gunn, of this movie, I think he decided to take a different approach, whereas the previous, the Henry Cavill were a kind of a darker version of Superman. He's gone back to I think, from what I've read in interviews, and it looks like just from this little snippet that we've seen in the, has come out with this first trailer, that going back to some of the, some of the roots, like the Christopher Reeve type Superman, but also adding elements of new, which is like the dog, like Crypto, which is actually a part of the, Superman genre, is the dog. No one ever talks about the dog in the movies, but he's big in that universe.
He was in the comic books here and there.
Yeah.
And it does have more of a Marvel feel, which James, the director, comes from that world, Guardians of the Galaxy. Which, if you think about it, Guardians of the Galaxy has that same kind of adult kid joke ratio
right.
that a lot of these Inside Out and Moana and those kind of movies have,
Right.
where they've got jokes for the kids and they got jokes for the adults, and
Mhm.
it's that pairing. Pixar, I think, did a good job of bringing those.
Yeah.
You know, Disney was just like mostly kid, and then when Pixar came on, they figured out this how to keep the adults entertained as well.
Yeah.
And then Disney started adapting it and all that. But
Right.
I would give Pixar credit probably for that
Absolutely.
that switch.
Yeah.
At least the more intentional side of it. And then Marvel does it, you know, with their jokes and things like that. That's why they tend to beat DC, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has more of a Marvel feel than
it really does.
DC feel,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is interesting. I mean, even the way they started the trailer with him like bleeding,
Yeah.
Superman doesn't bleed.
Coughing up blood. Yeah, exactly.
Like to start
what's
that
going
out
on here?
like that's a very like Marvel aspect where the character is flawed and can be hurt.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
Whereas typically DC, you know, they'll go there very quickly for a little bit of kryptonite, but they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't like to stay there very long.
And all of a sudden, you've got Crypto, the dog, coming out of nowhere to take me home, boy. You know, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool scene.
Yeah, that was another one of the comments. They were like, Crypto is supposed to be a German Shepherd. He's not supposed to be a little dog. It's like, relax, people. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, you think, oh my God, some of the comments on these things are just.
Oh yeah, they're brutal. What you know, you get that from the diehards that come from the comics.
Yeah.
These are the nerds.
Yeah.
The nerds chime in. Yeah.
Take it personally. And you know what's funny is every one of those people in those comments will go see the movie.
Oh, of course they will. Yeah.
Just to tear it apart, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And to say, I told you it wasn't going to be any good.
And you even notice and you probably noticed even a little bit of the theme song from the original Superman, how they, you know, it was like obviously remastered a little bit, but you heard that in the background. So
a little more cinematic too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like just stronger. Yeah. I thought it was a great trailer.
Yep.
Like we'll see if the movie's it's kind of hard to mess up a superhero movie. It really is. I mean,
it is.
I know people have done it, but like, it's a pretty good storyline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think,
and we're not getting another origin, so that's cool.
Right.
I mean, I like that. You know, I've like you kind of worn down with the origins. We kind of know where Superman comes from. We know the whole backstory. So
yeah, I mean, now if this is a hit, you can bet there'll be a new origin story too.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, after they do about 6 Supermans in a row, they'll
then
they'll do like, oh, we need an origin story.
Yeah,
because it'll be a new generation that doesn't know the origin story.
Yeah, right.
You know, so
did you ever see Gladiator 2? Did you ever get to see that?
Did not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's no huge loss for you. I mean, it wasn't that great.
Yeah. I mean, I was wanting to kind of see it on the big screen, but I'm like, oh well, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just watch it at home.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing now. I mean, you know, we've got a nice TV, got a decent sound system to go with it. Like, I know it's not the same, but it's not like watching your old, you know, 22-inch black and white.
It makes me wonder how theaters are going to ultimately survive the long term, because
it's what we've been talking about. They're gonna have to up the experience somehow.
Yeah.
You know, you start getting into IMAX, you start getting some of these,
I think,
theaters that have like the smell and the vibrating seats.
I think Cinnabar does pretty well, but these other theaters that
that's the only kind we go to. We have the ones where you order when you're in the theater.
Yep.
And that's the only ones we go to.
Limited seats, but you pay a premium. It's again going back to the premium, what you're paying for.
Right, but you get the recliner, you get the food service.
The
food's pretty good. Like,
it's not bad at all.
It's at least the one here. Like the dinner food is not any more expensive than going to a restaurant.
Right.
The ticket's more than you would pay for a regular movie, but not much.
Right.
So when you combine those two, it kind of washes out. But yeah, that's a good example. That's the experience. Those seem to be the theaters that are doing.
They're not hurting at all.
Yeah.
It's the secondary theaters that are the ones
traditional AMC.
You're crammed in. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I've seen the last couple of movies that I've seen have been not in a Cinnabar experience, but in those theaters. And I'll tell you, man, when you look around and see like almost nobody in the seats, you're thinking, okay, long term, how are they going to survive?
I don't think they will. I think
Yeah.
I think it'll continue to go to the more premium, the luxury seats and food and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Has to. So
for sure.
All right, man. Well, I think that's a wrap.
Cool.
That's the last. Man. That's the last episode of 2024.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's time for I saw a little in I think it was in Morning Brew newsletter this morning. It's like, all right, it's the last Friday for most people, for a lot of people at work. So
yeah,
you can say the official end of year dad joke. See you next year.
Horror.
Yep.
So what are your plans next week?
Oh man, we are staying put. Kids are all doing their own things.
Yeah.
So we're staying put. Watching football this weekend, starting in a couple hours.
A couple hours, huge game starting tonight through tomorrow night. I love it. I can't wait.
Yep.
It's going to be fun, man. Big one tonight, Notre Dame, Indiana, and then tomorrow a huge slate of games. So
I will say Monday and Tuesday we do have some travel planned, but we won't be leaving the house. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Some trips planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going to take a cue from the Siberian tribes and take a little journey. So
taking a little journey.
Yeah.
Taking a little journey.
That's the plan.
So you're taking some time off from your clients to take a little journey.
Yep.
I got to mention, because you're too shy. I got to talk about, some of the work you're doing with some of your clients and books.
Yes.
You gotta, you're not going to say it.
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. So
I gotta say that, man, because it's just, you're doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah. So as we're recording this, it's Friday, December 20th. But one thing so I've been ghostwriting books this year successfully, and we've got some good books out from different clients.
Mm-hmm.
But some people can't afford, the full 15 grand to do that.
Right.
So I figured out a way to kind of do a group version where if you want to write your own book, I will meet with you every morning in a group during my writing time. I'll just open up my Zoom account.
Yeah.
You can join me and I will walk you step by step on how to write a book in 40 days.
40 days.
And so if you're interested, you can send us an email, persuasionbythepint
at gmail.com.
Yep. And just put book in the subject title, and Jonathan will forward it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a Google Doc on the details and things like that. But basically it's a 40-day journey to get your book written. If you've been thinking about a book, I'll be guiding people through the whole process, and I'll also have open office hours during the week.
Sure.
Where I will help people if they get stuck. And like I said, I'll have writing times where, you can just join me on a call.
Yeah.
Where I'll be writing, no talking.
Yeah.
You're just both sitting there writing. So yeah, this is just kind of a beta thing I'm testing out for the month of January.
Right.
So trying to kick off January 2nd. So you'd have a book by the middle of February. And this would be like a 25,000 word, 125, 150 page book, depending on how you format it, things like that.
Yeah.
So if you've ever wanted a book and you didn't really want to just hand it over to somebody, or, you just, maybe you need a little accountability and guidance.
Sure.
So it's kind of part accountability, part coaching, part course. And what I've seen out there is mostly either courses where you just got to sit down and watch videos and you don't really have much feedback, or ghostwriting, but there's not much.
Yeah.
Not much in the middle. So
writing a book, I can tell you, is a hard endeavor. For some, it's not. But
well, it's mostly because it's overwhelming. Like
it's overwhelming.
There's so many pieces, and if you don't just put it in a nice logical order, and you don't have some help to like get out of your own way, because it's easy to overthink.
It's extremely easy to overthink.
Yeah. So
especially when you're getting no immediate feedback, and you're just writing, and you're just like, oh man, is this even is this real?
Yeah.
Does this even sound good?
Yeah.
I mean, and I just remember the first book that I ever did over 15 years ago was I had to hole up in a hotel just to get away from everything
Yeah.
to just write. And it was extremely difficult for me because I'm not naturally a person that likes to just sit down and just write for hours.
Yeah.
And the good thing, though, what's good for everybody, as Sean mentioned, is you don't have to do that anymore, right?
Mm.
It's not the old model of sitting down and typing, for hours and just
Yeah.
hoping,
I've figured
it's
out that basically if you're willing to give about an hour a day,
yeah,
weekdays,
yep,
and maybe a little makeup time on the weekend if you need it, um, an hour a day for 40 days, you can have that.
yeah,
You can have that book done.
you knock it out.
And I've got 2 tracks. I've got,
Hmm.
if you use AI, I'll show you how to use AI. If you don't want to
Yeah,
use AI, you think that's cheating, I'll show you how to
yeah,
do it without that. And either way,
yeah.
you can get the book done in 40 days. The
40
AI, I
days.
think, is a little bit easier, but some people just think that's cheating. They don't want to do it,
Yeah,
whatever. I don't care either way. I want
yeah,
people to get their books done.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
one of
main
them,
thing is just get it out because I mean,
yeah, one of my friends talks about, and I'll be writing my own book in the same time. So I'll be right there alongside with you.
right.
So instead of writing a client's book, I'll
Yep.
be writing my own book with you.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's kind of how this started. It's like, hey, let me
That's
just bring
that's
people
even
along
a
for the
better
ride.
to me. That's a better experience because you're kind of living the journey with what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just not sharing or telling them what to do, but you're in the journey with them.
Yep.
And I think people love that. Like, you're part of something.
Yeah. So if you're interested, persuasion by the pint at gmail.com, put book in
Hmm.
it in the subject line, and I'll send you a Google Doc with the details, and
Yeah.
we can get on a call, whatever you want to do to
Yeah.
jump in on that. So
Good time to do it. End of the year, first of the year, you want to knock a book out, you can do it nowadays. And like Sean said, 40 days.
yeah,
Do you want to get your book out? And you're not going to be able to do this on your own. If you think about doing this on your own, you think I can do that. Probably.
yeah,
No, it'll never happen. Trust me. I've
yeah.
tried
Even
it.
if you do some of the quote like 7-day books, and there's a
Yeah.
formula that's out there about that, those don't
Nothing.
usually end up great.
Nope.
Um,
Never.
and you just, again, you're in a vacuum. Like you
Yeah.
need a little bit of accountability, and you need a
Yeah.
little bit of feedback
Absolutely.
to get what you want to get. So,
Yeah.
so if you're looking for, I will say it's for nonfiction.
Hmm.
People
Yeah.
who kind of want to use it to build their business is the best type of book we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
We're not talking about like autobiography or anything like that. Although
Sure.
you could,
Yeah.
there's some crossover, but really it's kind of that nonfiction authority building type book.
Right.
So
That's
and I'll
good.
help you with ideas and frameworks and all that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
all part of the process. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
yep.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Thanks for asking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's important. And you want to work with somebody that's already working with people that are, published authors. And so the worst thing you can do is just like try to, do this on your own without like knowing where to even start because
Yeah.
you'll take forever. And then it's like the old saying is like you run into people who say, "Oh yeah, I'm working on this book," and they've been working on it for 5 years. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. You need a little bit of pressure,
Yeah,
and that's what the 40-day
absolutely.
kind of
Right.
milestones are. And I've got
Yeah,
set milestones every 10 days of where you
absolutely.
should be. And they're reasonable. Like,
Yeah.
the the fiction world, they'll write a 50,000 word book in November, right?
Mhm.
Every month, the whatever it's called.
Yep.
We're talking about 25,000 words in
Right.
40 days.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a task, but you do need the accountability and the
You do.
structure, things
Yeah.
like that to make that happen. So
And
that's what I'm offering.
it'll be and to me, having a book out there, a published book could be like one of the most incredible things you can do, not from a monetary standpoint from the book alone, but from what it can do for your business.
The doors that can
Because
open.
yeah, the doors it opens, from a marketing standpoint, a book lends so much credibility over, just, having a website up there,
Yep.
or people that are just, talking. If you've got a book that's a lot more credible than anything else, and to me, that's where the book kind of has the value, not from like, I'm going to sell 1 million copies, because most people aren't going to sell 1 million copies, but it's going to open doors for you that nothing else will. Just having a book to be able to send out, if I have a book that I can send out to top executives in my field, that's a bonus right there. So,
well, I mean, how many times have we we'll take a guest with a book over a guest without a book any day.
Exactly.
Because it gives us a jumping off point to talk about on the podcast.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so if you want to get on more podcasts, that's a great way to do it, is to have a book that you can send ahead.
Yeah. That's
even
if
it's a PDF version of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, because podcasters don't just want to talk to people because they don't trust, there's 1 million people. I mean, there's millions of people out there that have something to say. If you've got a book, you've kind of elevated yourself above the fray.
Yeah, you've thought through it. You've got a structure.
Absolutely. And podcasters are more likely to talk to people if you've got something in print. And they can
it gives
see it
them something to work off of too. Right. Even if they just look at the table of contents, they kind of know where to go.
Yeah. It helps them.
Because not everybody's like us, where we just spitball the whole time, so.
Yeah. And we're good at it.
Yeah. So.
All right. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, that's a wrap up for the final show of 2024. John, it's been fun, man. This is I forgot. I don't even know what episode we are. I know we're
381. I forgot to put the ticker on today, but
yeah, 381. Yep. 381. Can you believe that? We'll be hitting 425.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun. We'll have to do some kind of huge celebration for that 400th episode.
A round table or something with some past guests.
That sounds good.
Guess we'll have to plan that more than a week out.
Maybe. We might be able to pull that together in a
400,
few
that's
days.
19 more episodes. That's April, May. We'll worry about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, to all of our listeners, have a wonderful, safe Christmas. Have a wonderful, happy New Year, happy holidays, all of that good stuff. We wish you all the best over the holiday, to yours and your family. And if you have questions, as Sean mentioned, if you have questions on the book or are interested, persuasionbythepint@gmail.com. You can find us at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Just do a quick search for Persuasion by the Pint. If you like what you hear, leave us 5 stars, and we would greatly appreciate it. And Sean, have a wonderful Christmas. Have an enjoyable weekend. Enjoy these games, man. They're going to be fun.
Absolutely. See ya.
See ya.